Hey gang, we're live, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your sensei Al Bob, and I am your sensei Al Bob, and I am your griot. I tell you stories. So I've been out in the deep green the last day or two, and my friend he took off to see his sons, and so I'm cleaning the house. The ex took everything out, like 3 chairs and a table, and it's all good. Phil, how you doing? Can you hear me? It's been a test to get on. It took me about a half an hour to figure out how to get on. Chat seems to work. Hey there, AI. How you doing, buddy? So, hey, bye. What, as I have parsed through this, I kind of see that it's so many different things. It's not just one thing. And pretty much the one thing about this is that it's extremely aggressive. And it's pretty much going to infect everybody. Now, the young, it'll be like them having a cold. So it's going to be sifting out all the people my age, right? All the people with experience, all the people who can tell you their story. And I have some friends in New York, San Francisco, Atlanta, who are doctors. And they're saying this is like the strangest thing they'd ever seen. Because it's killing, it's knocking people over. Well, basically, they're over 60. They may have diabetes, they may have this, they may have that, but they're kind of in pretty good health. Bang, they're dead. So I was out and about the other day, but mostly I've been, here in the woods last week. I haven't really gone out. I mean, I have here and there just to see what's going on, but not really. I haven't gone shopping. But yesterday, I went into Johnson City and kind of went to my favorite supermarket in the 50-mile radius is Kroger's, because they pretty much they're really good. I have to handle it to Coach. They even have seltzer. If you want water, you go to Lowe's. They have these big, 42-pack bottled water for $3. Still $3, right? And they have a gallon of Clorox, about $4, right? They had everything I needed. And I went to Walmart and I just looked in there, it's like, end times. And then I went looking for Social Security because I need to have them take care of a few things, but they're all closed. And if you call them up, the wait time is 6 hours, and you can't get on. And I don't have the internet. I mean, I have this, but it's coming off the satellite and it's bouncing off Venus, and unless you have a real contiguous signal, so it'll be interesting. Things are all the restaurants, but some restaurants, because the state hasn't said, okay, well, you have to close all restaurants. There's still a lot that are open because they want to make money. And I went into one to check it out, and my server was sweating like a pig, coughing, wheezing. And I said, stand 6. No, don't tell me stand 6. And he went, I said, no, come on. I said, I'm not sick. And he was the only person who showed up for work. So he had, 10 tables where he's a very gay kind of guy. Not that there's wrong with that, but he's very right in your face. And so he was like leaning over all these old people. I mean, I was like young compared to these people, the grannies and walkers, And if he's got it, they're dead. I mean, I'm probably dead. And the other thing that was there, the people who ran the place, they were a pretty good place, but they haven't read up on it because you should never. They had salt, peppers, and hot sauce and all these things that no every table. And I showed up at the table, and I went and got. I went into the kitchen and got Clorox and wiped off my table. And I know the owner, so he was just like shaking his head and laughing. I said, listen, you need to get all of these things off your tables, and you need to do this every time. And you need to, have a hand sanitizer. And every time that guy, I mean, look at that guy, he's sweating. He said, well, he's the only guy who showed up. Everybody else is sick. And it's like, I'm doing really great work. I mean, all the other restaurants are closed, so everyone's coming here. And if you, Stephen King wrote a book called The Stand. And this is it. He wrote it like in the 70s, and he pegged it so right on. So these are interesting times we live in, right? So we can but what was quite interesting, what I saw yesterday, was people either really selfish or people were going out of their way to be nice and to find this Social Security place, but they hid it so you can never find it. Because Johnson City is a really squirrely place because it used to be an old town, railroad town, got pretty big for that. And then they built a big college, got big for that. So it's a chunk here, a chunk there. The rest was farms. They all became, cul-de-sacs and strip malls. And so it's consumerism gone wild. So you drive around, and there'll be a ton of houses, and then you come around, and there's like a silo and a farmhouse left, and 3 or 4 acres. It's like very strange. So yesterday had the most strangest of strange, just going in and out of like super duper consumerism to very rural to very bucolic, and I mean it's really strange. And I had a kind of epiphany that this is how it's going to end. Very strange. So I'm out in the middle of here. Tuesday, I'm going to do 40 miles the other way to Boone, where I have a good doctor. And he works for a HMO that's not as great as the one I was in, but it's okay. They try. And one thing that's good about them, and they're not a national entity that won't be taken over by a gigantic corporation like my poor little, my little HMO in Virginia. It was part of a national. That's why I could get my drugs ridiculously, cheap. And but they were of a certain category of nonprofit that the big insurance company was able to dump $600 billion in there and not have to pay taxes for it. They basically restructured the facility where I was and fired everybody, except for the executive director who went, who is the, the tie-breaking vote of letting this corporation in. And he's still the thing, and his new, he was making about, 120 grand a year. Now he's making $6 million with stock options. Well, I wonder how good that's going to work out for him. So, like I said, it's and it's all happening like that. So to me, there is a hidden agenda somewhere. And, again, go watch the movie Zardos, because there's a scene of, all the rich people are living in these bubbles, energy bubbles, right? And they're living a bucolic life, and AI is running everything, and they are transhuman, and they've lived so long that they've already gone out, they have the light speed, and they have, you can tell I'm an old guy because of this, chicken fat. And that's how big my arms used to be. The skin is still there. That's usually I wear a shirt. I don't show that to the average crowd. Let's see. Oh, and look at that. You can't have live chat today. Sorry, can't have live chat. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. Anyway, all I can say is that this is going to move very quickly. And my friends in New York are really scared because they go out and police look at them. And my friend's son-in-law is a doctor. And they have taken him and put him in a facility where the other doctors are staying, so they don't have to travel. But now they're all together, and they'll all get infected, and then there won't be any doctors. Like around here, it's called the Tri-Cities, but it's really 6 big city areas within a 70-mile radius. Kingsport, Bristol, Johnson City, Boone, Asheville, and a few others. Anyway, so within the, let's say, 100-mile radius, there's maybe 300,000 people, right? They only have 600 ICU beds. They only have something on the order of 2,200 ventilators. And they've been trying, I called up one of my friends in Nashville, and they've been calling everywhere, and FEMA is just, it's like the answering machine's on. FEMA doesn't even talk to them. And that's what FEMA is supposed to do. And the federal government doesn't, they talk a great game. Every day they go out on I think they have the cure, and all those people who are standing up there, Mike Pence and Donnie and the rest, they already been shot, so they're not feeling worried. Ben Carson's talking about Jesus. I'm saying, you don't have to worry about your rent for the next 30 days. But in 30 days, when things are really shit, that's when they're going to throw you out. It's going to be interesting. And then people are going to get pissed because, especially that Republican senator who's in charge of the intelligence board, and he belongs to a special club that costs $600,000 a year to belong to, and that's on the low end. If you really want to get the big scoop, it's $1 million. And he gave a lecture 10 weeks ago in December, and he said the intelligence community says this is going to be a real, something akin to the Spanish flu. And the only reason they call it the Spanish flu, it really started in the United States on a pig farm that had been also a biological warfare laboratory. And there was a little army base, and then we got, Woodrow Wilson threw us into the First World War. And so they went from having like 300 guys on that base to having 60,000. They were like bringing them from all around and doing the basic and then sending them off to get trained some more and then sent on to Europe. Well, they got all infected from those pigs because a lot of the people who worked at that farm decided they'd join the army. And so bingo bango. So that's the Spanish flu. And the only reason they call it the Spanish flu is that Spain was non-combatant, right? So all the other countries, England, United States, Germany, France, had strict control of the media, total, and they had some really draconian laws in the United States where they shoot people if they printed stuff they didn't like, right? fake news. And so, and forget about, and that law is still in existence. It's still on the books. Anyway, but Spain wasn't. And so Spain actually was trying to figure out how to, deal with this. So they actually realized that the best way to deal with it was to inform the public, tell them, this is what it is, this is how it spreads. Don't hang out with each other. They did basically what they're doing now. They had losses, but not like the rest of the world. The Spanish flu killed about 20% of the world's population, in a very short period of time, and then it disappeared, which is an interesting thing. And it happened all over the world. I mean, there were tribes of Eskimos up there in the north that sees nobody, and they all died of it. I mean, how did that happen? So, and they didn't have airplanes, and yet it spread around the world in less than 3/4 of a year. So, it's probably going to be something like that. And look what that did to America. Woodrow Wilson, that guy, people go, that Andrew Jackson was a terrible president, violent and mean and cruel. Woodrow Wilson, because he started Jim Crow. The first movie that was made industrially was Birth of a Nation. And he, saw it in the White House and told the American public, this is the best movie. This is what America's about. I mean, you should go read that. And then he facilitated the Versailles, which, mandated World War II was going to happen in 20 years, killing 6 times more people. About 20 million died in World War I. About 100 million died in World War II. And the Spanish flu in 1.5 years killed something to the quarter of 300 million people. Like I said, about a quarter of the population, 20% of the population of the world. So 7 billion people now. What's a quarter of 7 billion? At least 1.5 billion. Right? So, but this is these things to only go after really old people. And people with somewhat compromised immune systems. So that fits, the order of the Mike Pence folk really nicely. Gets rid of all the problems, all those liberals, all those people who want freedom for everybody. Good way to get rid of them. And it also, China, if they didn't invent it, if they didn't put it out, they are at least using it to their best advantage, because you don't see anybody screaming for freedom in Hong Kong. No. And we've already given $3 trillion through the Fed to banks to give to corporations to buy back their stock, right? They're doing the same thing they did in 2008. And in 2008, the Federal Reserve gave $21 trillion to corporations and people who stole the money in the first place. Nobody went to jail. When the savings and loan debacle happened in 86, about 3,000 people went to jail. But that debacle caused the dynamic of Bill Clinton changing the Democratic Party from taking care of poor people to being, centrist. And he, brought us NAFTA and brought us decontrol, and there we went, right off the cliff. And so the hidden hand is not too right there, just like you didn't see me do that with chunks I couldn't chew. Anyway, so this is just a short one to say, hey, I'm still alive. I'm not sick yet. I have a doctor's appointment for Tuesday, so my exposure to things that didn't look too healthy, would stop percolating, about now, and I'm, okay. Right, so I'm going to take a nice hot shower. I haven't had a shower in 4 days. And I, really hadn't had a shower all last year. But since January, and I took care of my friend, I had a hot shower every day, man. You can't beat a hot shower. I'm glad summer's showing up. I can hose myself down. But I stacked up on good canned food. And like I said, there were a lot of nice people out yesterday. And so I had no idea where the social cure place was. So every time I stopped at a light and I kind of waved somebody, we would talk. And there were about 10 people who told me where this and that was and how to get to here. And it's really hard to find, even when you go by it, they don't have a sign in front of it. And it's on the backside of a Hardee's. That's the only way, look for the Hardee's and then drive behind it. It's like, what? And when I got there, the sign said, oh, we're closed. We're not, seeing anybody. And you can only get forget about the phone. And the internet is, pretty sparse. So if you need us, forget about it. It's basically what it said. And, it's a very interesting time because here we are. We have this government that's supposed to that's what the Constitution, to promote social welfare. Well, at a time of crisis like this, you'd think you want somebody looking out for your social welfare. Not so much. Right? Now, Italy is doing a great job. It's just that it's got, they just don't, they have a very good health system. I mean, see, this is what happens if you have a single payer. No, everyone in Italy is, but what's really interesting is that not everyone in Italy is sick. It is just this swatch of Italy, kind of not the real, well, it's north, but it's right at 11 degrees Celsius, 40% humidity, right? Down in the south, not as much. I mean, there are people, but it's the heaviest, where the system is cracking is right there. And same with South Korea. Too bad Japan, its whole country is in that swatch. And the interesting thing is Turkey, right? Turkey is right in that swatch, but you don't hear anything from these guys. So we don't have anything, right? I mean, Iran is just right next door, right? And that part, and again, not all of Iran is sick, just this swatch, right? So there are all these very interesting. Hopefully, I'm in a little swatch, that doesn't get it. That it's like a little higher, a little lower. I mean, it's starting to get pretty warm. In the last few days, it's been 70 degrees, and it's a lot warmer than 11 degrees Celsius, give or take. So anyway, I'm stop picking my nose, and stop rubbing my eyes, and I sanitize my hands frequently, and I stay away from people. Well, that you guys can't talk. I think I'm going to split in a few seconds, right? Since we're now at 24 minutes and 24 seconds, and that's a good time to leave. And I'll pitter a patter about a little bit. So I looked at my, xratted.blogspot.com because I'm writing a new novel, right? And it's 4 novels. It's like Harry Potter. It's like a bunch of novels for a big, long story. And one's called Same as It Ever Was, Don't Believe a Word I Say. And the other one's Legend, and another one's Legacy. So I'm working on Legacy. And as I'm writing it, once I get, 40, 50 pages in, I kind of stick it up on my, Griot Publishing, my xratted.blogspot.com. And I ask you, hey guys, why don't you comment? Go read that stuff. Well, a lot of you have, and a lot of you have commented. And I have to say that it's all quite good, very nice, very nice comments. Oh, this is great, blah, 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 right? And there's some people who are writers I can see, and so they're making writerly kind of comments, but it's positive. And what I would love is this guy named Joseph P. Farrell. I'd love it if he read it and wanted to do a book to take what I've written and then write a story with his encyclopedic knowledge of everything, right? And do a novel rather than his history books that nobody seems to read them. I mean, guys like me read them, but and I guess enough people read them, so he's not homeless. So that's the interesting thing. And one person left a really long thing and was trying to show me how intellectual they were, and that was nice. But they kept saying, this is, what you write isn't for the general public. They don't need to know this. I was, really? They don't need to know this. Okay. And, young people shouldn't read this because it'll trouble their minds, meaning like they'll have to think. Anyway, so that's where we are. Took me about half an hour just getting this thing to put me up there. And then, after 10 minutes of talking to you, nobody chatted. It just turned off the chat. But hey, this is for posterity. And I hope you're all good. Okay? Okay.